Intermittent fasting has become one of the most powerful tools for improving health and promoting fat loss. But here's the truth. Fasting alone is not enough. What you eat when you break that fast determines whether your body continues burning fat or switches straight back into fat storage mode. When the first meal after fasting lacks the right balance of nutrients, especially protein, the benefits of fasting can quickly unravel. The body depends on adequate, high-quality protein to stabilize blood sugar, protect muscle tissue, and sustain a healthy metabolism. Without it, energy levels drop, hunger and cravings intensify, and the body becomes far more likely to break down lean muscle rather than fat for fuel. This is one of the most common mistakes I see. People fast diligently, then break their fast with meals high in carbohydrates or processed foods and too little protein. That imbalance sends insulin soaring, halts fat burning, and triggers the very metabolic roller coaster they were trying to escape. Protein, on the other hand, acts like a metabolic anchor. It slows the release of glucose, supports liver detoxification, and provides the amino acids needed to repair and build new tissue. When protein intake is too low, intermittent fasting can actually backfire, leaving you feeling tired, foggy, and metabolically sluggish. But when protein is strategically included at the right time and in the right amount, fasting becomes a powerful metabolic reset. It allows the body to burn fat efficiently while preserving precious lean mass, the key to long-term sustainable weight loss. The right food at the right time transforms fasting from a temporary discipline into a deeply restorative metabolic therapy that nourishes, energizes, and strengthens the entire system. Most people approach intermittent fasting with the best intentions, but miss the single most important element: what they eat when the fast ends. The focus tends to be entirely on timing when to start fasting, how long to go without food, and the perfect window to eat. But fasting is only one half of the metabolic equation. The other half, the one that determines whether the fast becomes regenerative or destructive, depends entirely on food quality, particularly protein. The mistake I see over and over again is individuals breaking their fast with fruit smoothies, toast, or light salads, thinking they are being healthy. These meals may feel light, but they lack the nutrient density and amino acid structure needed to repair, stabilize, and rebuild the body after a period of metabolic stress. During fasting, your body shifts its energy source away from glucose and begins to rely more heavily on fat for fuel. This transition is incredibly powerful. It promotes autophagy, reduces inflammation, and improves insulin sensitivity, but it is also a stress on the system. Without adequate protein intake when you do eat, the body lacks the raw materials to rebuild cells and enzymes that have been broken down during the fasting period. Protein is not simply a macronutrient, it is a messenger. The amino acids derived from protein act as biochemical signals that guide metabolism, hormone function, and detoxification. When these signals are strong and balanced, the body continues burning fat even after the eating window begins. When they are weak, due to low protein or poor quality protein, the body interprets this as scarcity and slows metabolism to conserve energy. Lean muscle tissue plays a crucial role here. It is the body's metabolic engine. The more lean mass you maintain, the more efficiently you burn fat at rest. But fasting without proper protein can result in muscle loss rather than fat loss. The body, deprived of amino acids, begins breaking down its own muscle tissue to obtain them. This not only weakens physical strength, but also lowers the resting metabolic rate, making future fat loss harder. The key is to ensure that every eating window includes enough high-quality protein, ideally from clean animal sources such as eggs, fish, poultry, or grass-fed meat, or from, combined plant-based sources if you are vegetarian. Beyond muscle maintenance, protein is vital for detoxification. The liver, the body's main detox organ, depends on amino acids to neutralize and eliminate toxins that accumulate during fasting. Glutamine, glycine, and cysteine are particularly important as they form glutathione, the body's master antioxidant. Without these amino acids, detox pathways slow, leading to fatigue, brain fog, and difficulty losing weight. Supporting liver function with the right proteins ensures that the byproducts of fat burning and cellular repair are efficiently cleared, keeping the metabolism running cleanly and effectively. Hormonal regulation is another crucial piece. Protein directly influences insulin, glucagon, thyroid hormones, and leptin, all key regulators of fat burning and energy balance. When protein is too low, insulin can fluctuate more dramatically, leading to blood sugar instability and cravings. Adequate protein helps balance these hormones, keeping appetite under control and energy levels steady throughout the day. It also supports thyroid function, which governs metabolic rate. Low protein intake can slow thyroid hormone conversion, leaving the body feeling sluggish and unable to efficiently mobilize fat stores. Amino acids like leucine, isoleucine, and valine, the branched chain amino acids, also serve as metabolic switches. They tell the body that nutrients are available, allowing it to stay in an anabolic, rebuilding mode rather than a catabolic breakdown state. This signaling helps the body use stored fat for energy instead of breaking down muscle. In essence, protein provides the go signal for fat burning to continue smoothly between fasting and feeding states. Fasting, when supported by the right protein intake, becomes a healing tool rather than a stressor. It builds resilience instead of depletion. The body learns to efficiently shift between burning fat and replenishing nutrients without experiencing the crashes, cravings, or fatigue that often accompany poorly structured fasting plans. The goal is metabolic flexibility, the ability to tap into fat stores for energy while maintaining strong, lean tissue and stable hormones. This can only be achieved when the body receives a steady, reliable supply of amino acids to guide the process. When people begin to understand that protein is not just food but information, a code that instructs the body how to function, fasting transforms from a mere weight loss trend into a sophisticated metabolic therapy. The right protein at the right time turns fasting into a restorative process that builds strength, enhances mental clarity, and unlocks the body's natural ability to burn fat efficiently and sustainably. Protein plays a central role in balancing blood sugar and controlling insulin, two of the most critical factors that determine whether the body burns fat or stores it. During intermittent fasting, the goal is to train the body to become metabolically flexible, shifting seamlessly from burning glucose to burning fat. However, this metabolic switch depends heavily on how insulin behaves once the fast is broken. When you eat, insulin acts as the gatekeeper, deciding whether nutrients are directed toward energy production or stored as fat. The type of food you eat profoundly influences this hormonal response, and protein is the key factor that determines whether insulin remains balanced or spikes uncontrollably. When you break your fast with a meal rich in high-quality protein, it creates a slow, steady rise in blood sugar and insulin. This gentle response stabilizes energy levels and prevents the post-meal crashes that often trigger cravings. Protein achieves this by slowing gastric emptying, which means glucose enters the bloodstream more gradually. It also stimulates the release of glucagon, insulin's balancing partner hormone, which helps the body maintain stable blood sugar between meals. This is why a protein-centered meal after fasting leaves you feeling alert, focused and satisfied for hours, rather than hungry or tired shortly after eating. Contrast this with a meal low in protein and high in carbohydrates, such as fruit smoothies, cereals, or bread. These foods trigger a rapid insulin surge as the body scrambles to manage the sudden flood of glucose. The spike is followed by a sharp drop, leading to fatigue, irritability, and intense hunger. Over time, this cycle of highs and lows damages insulin sensitivity, making it harder for the body to burn fat and easier for it to store it, particularly around the liver and abdomen. This is the metabolic trap that derails many intermittent fasting efforts, not the fasting itself, but the poor food choices that follow it. Sufficient protein intake supports the body in maintaining insulin sensitivity. This means that the same amount of insulin can do its job more effectively, allowing glucose to enter cells smoothly and keeping blood sugar balanced. The amino acids from protein, particularly leucine and methionine, send crucial metabolic signals that instruct muscle, liver, and gut cells to stay receptive to insulin. When these tissues respond well to insulin, glucose is efficiently converted into energy rather than stored as fat. But when protein intake is too low, cells lose this responsiveness. The pancreas compensates by releasing more insulin, and over time, chronic high insulin levels make fat burning nearly impossible. Protein also helps reduce the total amount of insulin the body needs to secrete throughout the day. A protein-rich diet enhances satiety hormones like peptide YY and GLP-1, which naturally suppress appetite and lower the frequency of eating. Fewer meals and fewer insulin spikes mean the body spends more time in a fat-burning state. This is why people who include adequate protein in their meals find it easier to sustain longer fasting windows. Their energy remains stable, and they are less likely to experience the blood sugar crashes that trigger overeating. There is also a direct link between protein intake and liver function in insulin balance. The The liver acts as the metabolic control center, determining whether nutrients are used or stored. Amino acids support phase I and phase TA detoxification pathways, allowing the liver to clear excess hormones and toxins that interfere with insulin signaling. When the liver is supported with the right amino acids, it can regulate blood sugar more efficiently and maintain stable glucose levels even between meals. Muscle tissue plays a similar role. It is the largest site for glucose disposal, meaning it helps clear sugar from the bloodstream without relying heavily on insulin. The more lean muscle mass you maintain, the more insulin sensitive your body becomes. Protein intake, especially after fasting, provides the amino acids needed to preserve and build this muscle. As muscle mass increases, insulin sensitivity improves further, creating a positive feedback loop where fat burning becomes more efficient and energy levels stay consistent. Gut health is another often overlooked aspect of the protein-insulin connection. The gut microbiome helps regulate how efficiently nutrients are absorbed and how insulin responds to meals. When the gut is inflamed or imbalanced, insulin signaling becomes erratic. Adequate protein supports the gut lining, repairs intestinal tissue, and provides glutamine, the preferred fuel for enterocytes, the cells lining the digestive tract. A strong gut barrier prevents endotoxins from leaking into the bloodstream, reducing systemic inflammation that would otherwise blunt insulin sensitivity. When all of these systems, gut, liver, and muscle, are supported with steady amino acid signals, the body's ability to manage insulin improves dramatically. Blood sugar remains stable, cravings diminish, and fat metabolism becomes the default state rather than the exception. The result is consistent, sustainable energy throughout the day and the steady fat loss that intermittent fasting promises, but only delivers when combined with proper nutrition. Protein, far from being just another macronutrient, acts as the central regulator of the entire metabolic network. It keeps insulin balanced, energy steady, and the fat burning engine running smoothly long after the fasting window has closed. Not all proteins are created equal, and the type of protein you choose can dramatically influence how your metabolism, gut, and overall energy system function. The conversation around protein often focuses on quantity, grams per day, percentage of total calories. But what truly matters is quality and digestibility, the amino acid profile, source purity, and how well your gut can break down and absorb those amino acids determine whether that protein becomes a healing, energizing nutrient or an added metabolic burden. When fasting or in any metabolic reset, the body becomes acutely sensitive to nutritional inputs. This means every meal counts, and the right protein can make the difference between rebuilding health or perpetuating fatigue and inflammation. Animal-based proteins are the most complete and bioavailable forms of protein. Foods like eggs, fish, poultry, and grass-fed red meats contain all the essential amino acids in ratios that closely match human tissue. This means the body can use them efficiently for repair, hormone synthesis, enzyme production, and mitochondrial maintenance. Animal proteins also provide nutrients that support energy production, such as vitamin B12, iron, zinc, and carnitine, all crucial for metabolic health. Fish, particularly olive varieties like salmon, mackerel, and sardines, offer the added benefit of omega-3 fatty acids, which help lower inflammation and improve insulin sensitivity. Eggs are a nearly perfect protein source, rich in choline and sulfur-based amino acids that aid liver detoxification and cell membrane repair. Grass-fed meat contains conjugated linoleic acid CLA, a natural fat that promotes fat oxidation and supports lean muscle mass. However, quality within the animal protein category is vital. Factory farmed meats, for instance, often contain inflammatory fats, antibiotics, and chemical residues that disrupt the microbiome and burden the liver. Choosing grass-fed pasture, raised, or wild-caught sources ensures that the amino acids are accompanied by anti-inflammatory fats and clean nutrient cofactors. This aligns with a key principle of functional medicine. Food should be medicinal, not toxic. When animal proteins are raised and prepared properly, they nourish the gut, stabilize blood sugar, and maintain metabolic integrity. Plant-based proteins, while beneficial for many, present different challenges. Most plant proteins are incomplete, meaning they lack one or more essential amino acids that the body cannot synthesize on its own. For example, legumes are low in methionine, while grains are low in lysine. To create a complete amino acid profile, plant sources need to be combined, such as rice and beans or lentils with quinoa. When done correctly, plant-based proteins can support muscle synthesis and energy balance, but they tend to be less bioavailable. This means you need more total protein to achieve the same effect as smaller amounts of animal protein. Additionally, many plant proteins contain anti-nutrients such as lectins, phytates, and oxalates that can interfere with digestion and mineral absorption, particularly in those with gut inflammation. Proper soaking, sprouting, and cooking of legumes and grains can reduce these compounds and improve digestibility. Plant proteins have advantages, especially when they are minimally processed and derived from whole foods. They provide fiber, polyphenols, and prebiotic compounds that feed beneficial gut bacteria. When the microbiome is healthy, protein digestion and amino acid absorption improve significantly. A diverse gut microbiome enhances short-chain fatty acid production, which helps regulate appetite, insulin, and fat metabolism. This is why a balance of both animal and plant-based proteins can often be the most effective strategy for metabolic health, combining the completeness of animal proteins with the microbiome supporting properties of plants. Collagen protein is another important category, though it is often misunderstood. Collagen is not a complete protein because it lacks tryptophan, one of the essential amino acids. However, it plays a unique structural role in the body. Collagen provides glycine, proline, and hydroxyproline, amino acids that support connective tissue repair, gut lining integrity, and skin elasticity for individuals with leaky gut or joint inflammation. Collagen or gelatin-rich broths can be extremely therapeutic. It helps strengthen the intestinal barrier, reducing the passage of endotoxins that trigger systemic inflammation. While collagen should not replace complete proteins, it can complement them beautifully, especially when used alongside amino acid-rich foods like eggs or fish. Digestibility is the final and perhaps most crucial factor. Even the highest quality protein is of little use if your gut cannot properly digest and absorb it. Low stomach acid, pancreatic insufficiency, or a damaged gut lining can impair protein breakdown. In these cases, supporting digestion with fermented foods, digestive enzymes, or a small amount of apple cider vinegar before meals can make a notable difference. Chewing thoroughly and avoiding eating under stress also enhance digestion, as the body must be in a parasympathetic or rest and digest state to secrete adequate enzymes and acids. The gut's relationship with protein is bidirectional. A healthy gut is needed to digest protein, and sufficient protein is required to repair and maintain the gut. Amino acids like glutamine and glycine are essential for regenerating intestinal cells and producing mucin, the protective layer that keeps the gut barrier intact. When the gut is strong, nutrient absorption improves, inflammation lowers, and metabolism stabilizes. Quality always trumps quantity. Eating large amounts of low-quality protein from processed sources, whether plant or animal, can do more harm than good. The body thrives on clean, unprocessed, digestible proteins paired with nutrient-rich vegetables and healthy fats. It is not about eating more protein, but about eating the right kind from the right sources in a way that your gut can process efficiently. This is how protein transitions from being a nutrient to being a form of metabolic medicine, strengthening every cell, stabilizing blood sugar, and fueling a body designed for resilience, repair, and long-term vitality. The timing of protein intake can completely change how the body responds to intermittent fasting. Many people focus only on fasting duration, 16 hours, 18 hours, or even a full day, but what happens when the fast ends is just as important. The first meal after fasting sends a powerful metabolic signal that determines whether the body remains in a fat, burning, insulin-sensitive state or switches rapidly into storage mode. Breaking the fast with a balanced, protein-rich meal helps stabilize blood sugar, sustain energy, and reinforce the metabolic benefits that fasting is designed to achieve. The body has been in a state of repair and detox during fasting. When you reintroduce food, you're giving it the raw materials to rebuild. The right timing and composition of that first meal can enhance hormonal balance, reduce cravings, and maintain satiety for hours afterward. When protein is the first macronutrient consumed after a fast, it has a stabilizing effect on insulin and glucose. This concept, often referred to as protein first eating, is supported by research showing that beginning a meal with protein, even a small amount, can dramatically blunt post-meal glucose spikes. Protein stimulates the release of hormones such as glucagon, like peptide 1, GLP-1, and cholecystokin, CCK, which slow digestion, promote fullness, and signal to the brain that sufficient energy is available. This reduces the rapid insulin surge that occurs when carbohydrates are eaten first. Starting with protein. whether in the form of eggs, fish, or a protein shake, essentially primes the body for better nutrient absorption and a more gradual metabolic response. When people break their fast with carbohydrates alone, blood sugar levels rise quickly, insulin spikes, and fat burning stops almost instantly. The surge of insulin drives glucose into cells for immediate use or storage, often leading to an energy crash later in the day. This pattern of fluctuating blood sugar can leave people feeling tired, moody, and hungry, the exact opposite of what fasting is supposed to achieve. In contrast, a protein-rich meal helps maintain steady energy, supports mental clarity, and extends the feeling of satiety for several hours. It also encourages the body to continue using fat as a primary fuel source, even in the fed state. Protein timing also affects hormonal balance, especially cortisol and insulin, which interact closely during fasting. Cortisol naturally rises in the morning to mobilize energy stores and help the body transition from a fasting state to activity. If you extend your fast too long without adequate protein, cortisol can remain elevated, promoting muscle breakdown and blood sugar instability. Introducing protein during the first meal helps lower cortisol and stabilize the body's stress response. This prevents the fatigue and irritability that sometimes accompany prolonged fasting, especially in people with thyroid or adrenal imbalances. Aligning protein intake with your circadian rhythm amplifies these benefits even further. The body's metabolic processes follow a natural daily rhythm. Digestion and nutrient assimilation are most efficient earlier in the day, while repair and detoxification dominate at night. Breaking your fast in the late morning or early afternoon with a protein-rich meal aligns perfectly with this biological pattern. It allows your metabolism to perform at its peak while giving your digestive system enough time to process nutrients before evening. Eating heavy protein meals too late at night can interfere with sleep and slow recovery as the body diverts energy toward digestion instead of cellular repair. For those practicing time-restricted eating, the ideal approach is to concentrate protein intake during the first 2 meals within the eating window. This ensures the body receives the amino acids it needs for tissue repair, hormone synthesis, and energy metabolism without overwhelming the digestive system. Many people find that consuming around 30 grams of high-quality protein in the first meal and a similar amount in the second meal provides optimal satiety and recovery. Spreading protein evenly also maintains a consistent anabolic signal throughout the day, preserving lean muscle and supporting a higher resting metabolic rate. Another key factor is the speed of digestion. Liquid or easily digestible protein sources, such as collagen or whey protein, can be useful immediately after fasting because they are absorbed quickly and help reset metabolism without overloading the stomach. Once digestion has resumed, whole food proteins like eggs, salmon, or lean poultry provide sustained amino acid release and a longer, lasting feeling of fullness. This combination of fast and slow digesting proteins mirrors how the body naturally transitions from fasting to feeding, ensuring a smooth metabolic handover. Protein timing can also be personalized based on activity levels. For individuals who train in a fasted state, consuming protein soon after exercise enhances muscle repair and replenishes amino acids used during training. This post-exercise protein also helps regulate insulin, preventing the body from overcompensating with sugar cravings later in the day. Ultimately, the timing of protein intake determines whether fasting acts as a regenerative process or a stressor. By breaking the fast with protein, eating it first in meals, and aligning it with your body's natural rhythm, you create a metabolic environment that favors fat burning, muscle preservation, and hormonal stability. The goal is not simply to eat within a window, but to nourish strategically within it. When done correctly, protein timing turns intermittent fasting into a sustainable, restorative rhythm that enhances both energy and longevity. The relationship between protein and gut health is one of the most overlooked aspects of metabolic healing. Most people think of protein in terms of muscle or energy, but its influence on the gut microbiome and inflammation is just as important. Every protein you consume must first be broken down into amino acids before it can be absorbed and used. This process depends on a healthy digestive system, sufficient stomach acid, active enzymes, and a balanced gut microbiome. When these systems work harmoniously, protein becomes deeply restorative. It nourishes the gut lining, supports immune balance, and provides the building blocks for enzymes and hormones that control metabolism. But when digestion is compromised, even high-quality protein can become a source of inflammation, leading to fatigue, cravings, and impaired fat burning. Healthy protein metabolism starts in the stomach. Hydrochloric acid is essential for unfolding protein molecules and activating pepsin, the enzyme that begins protein breakdown. Without enough stomach acid, a condition surprisingly common due to stress, aging, or antacid use, protein digestion falters. Large, undigested protein fragments pass into the small intestine, where they can irritate the gut lining and feed undesirable bacteria. These bacteria ferment the undigested material, producing endotoxins and gases that damage the intestinal wall and increase permeability, a condition often called leaky gut. This allows inflammatory molecules to enter the bloodstream, triggering immune responses that can affect energy, mood, and weight regulation. In contrast, when protein digestion is efficient, amino acids are absorbed smoothly and used to repair the gut barrier itself. Glutamine, for instance, is the primary fuel source for the cells that line the small intestine. Glycine and proline, found abundantly in collagen and gelatin, help rebuild connective tissue and reduce intestinal permeability. These amino acids not only strengthen the physical barrier of the gut, but also lower systemic inflammation by preventing immune overactivation. When the gut barrier is intact, fewer toxins leak into circulation, reducing the inflammatory burden on the liver and immune system. This creates an internal environment that favors fat burning rather than fat storage. The type of protein consumed also determines which microbial species thrive in the gut. Clean, minimally processed animal proteins like eggs, fish, and grass-fed meats tend to support a balanced microbiome when paired with plant-based fibers and polyphenols. Fiber from vegetables, nuts, and seeds acts as a prebiotic, feeding beneficial bacteria that produce short-chain fatty acids such as butyrate. Butyrate is a powerful anti-inflammatory compound that strengthens the gut lining and improves insulin sensitivity. Polyphenols, found in colorful plants like berries, herbs, and green tea, work synergistically with protein by modulating the microbiome and reducing oxidative stress. This combination, quality protein, fiber, and polyphenols, creates a gut environment that is metabolically efficient and resistant to inflammation. In contrast, poor quality proteins from processed meats, factory, farm sources, or low-grade protein powders can have the opposite effect. These products often contain additives, preservatives, and oxidized fats that feed harmful bacterial species. When pathogenic bacteria dominate, they produce endotoxins like lipopolysaccharides. LPS then inflame the gut wall and interfere with insulin signaling. Elevated LPS levels are strongly linked with obesity, metabolic syndrome, and chronic fatigue. This inflammatory cascade can undo the benefits of fasting or any metabolic protocol, no matter how well designed. The key message is that protein quality directly determines whether it heals or harms the gut ecosystem. Digestive enzymes and microbial diversity play an equally crucial role. The pancreas releases protease enzymes to continue breaking proteins into smaller peptides and amino acids. A healthy microbiome then helps metabolize these amino acids into compounds that nourish the gut lining and regulate immune function. Specific bacteria, such as Lactobacillus and Bifidobacterium species, assist in this process while also producing vitamins like B12 and K2, which support energy production and bone health. If these beneficial bacteria are depleted through antibiotic stress or poor diet, protein metabolism becomes less efficient, leading to bloating, inflammation, and nutrient deficiencies. Supporting good protein digestion begins with mindful eating habits. Taking time to chew thoroughly and eat in a relaxed state activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which stimulates stomach acid and enzyme production. Adding fermented foods like sauerkraut, kefir, or kimchi introduces beneficial bacteria that enhance protein metabolism and restore microbial balance. Bone broth, rich in collagen and minerals, can soothe the gut lining and supply amino acids needed for repair. When the gut is strong, the body extracts maximum benefit from every gram of protein, using it to build muscle, generate energy, and produce neurotransmitters that regulate mood and focus. Reducing inflammation through optimal protein metabolism creates a ripple effect throughout the body. The liver processes fewer toxins, insulin signaling becomes more efficient, and energy levels stabilize. Fat loss becomes a natural byproduct of this metabolic harmony, not a forced outcome. Instead of viewing protein solely as a muscle-building nutrient, it should be understood as a foundation for gut integrity and systemic balance. The combination of high-quality protein, fiber, and phytonutrients, along with proper digestion and microbial diversity, transforms the gut into a powerhouse of metabolic health. This is how the body transitions from chronic inflammation and fat storage to true resilience, using protein as both nourishment and medicine for the microbiome and beyond. Building a sustainable protein-centered fasting lifestyle is about creating balance, the kind of balance that keeps metabolism strong, hormones stable, and energy steady over the long term. Fasting should never feel like deprivation. It should feel like a natural rhythm that supports the body's innate healing processes. When the foundation of that rhythm is built on quality protein, the entire metabolic system functions more efficiently. Protein allows intermittent fasting to be restorative rather than stressful, ensuring that fat is burned, not muscle, and that the body remains nourished rather than depleted. The key to long-term success is learning how to integrate fasting, protein timing, and nutrient quality in a way that fits your biology rather than fights against it. Protein-centered fasting works because it maintains lean muscle mass, which is the body's most metabolically active tissue. Muscle determines how many calories you burn at rest and how effectively your body uses fat for fuel. When fasting is paired with low protein intake, the body is forced to break down muscle tissue to meet its amino acid needs, slowing metabolism and making fat loss harder over time. By contrast, when each eating window includes enough high-quality protein, the body is reassured that resources are plentiful. It shifts confidently into fat-burning mode while preserving lean mass. This protects metabolic rate and prevents the rebound weight gain that often follows restrictive diets. Sustaining muscle through protein-rich fasting is not only about aesthetics, it's about preserving vitality, strength, and longevity. The sustainability of this approach also lies in its hormonal balance. Fasting naturally improves insulin sensitivity, and when paired with sufficient protein, it also stabilizes cortisol and supports thyroid function. These hormones work together to control energy, appetite, and fat metabolism. Cortisol rises gently during fasting to release stored energy, but without enough protein, this can become excessive, leading to stress, irritability, and cravings. Introducing protein at the right time, especially when breaking the fast, helps lower cortisol, supports thyroid hormone conversion, and stabilizes blood sugar. This hormonal equilibrium prevents the energy crashes and overeating episodes that often sabotage fasting routines. The result is a calm, steady metabolism that can sustain fasting effortlessly day after day. Gut health remains central to this entire process. The gut microbiome acts as the communication hub between food, hormones, and metabolism. When nourished with the right proteins, fibers, and phytonutrients, the microbiome produces metabolites that reduce inflammation, improve nutrient absorption, and reinforce insulin sensitivity. Collagen, glutamine, and amino acids like glycine support the gut lining, preventing leaky gut and the systemic inflammation that often blocks fat loss. When inflammation is reduced, the liver and mitochondria function more efficiently, allowing for smoother fat metabolism. A healthy gut ensures that protein digestion remains efficient, meaning every gram of protein is utilized for repair and energy rather than becoming a burden on the digestive system. This is the deeper layer of fasting, not just abstaining from food, but feeding the microbiome in a way that heals and restores metabolic integrity. Timing remains another pillar of sustainability. Eating protein first at the beginning of meals helps regulate insulin and prolong satiety, making fasting windows easier to maintain. Aligning eating times with natural circadian rhythms earlier in the day, when digestion and metabolism are most active, enhances this effect. For many people, this means breaking the fast mid-morning or early afternoon with a nutrient-dense, protein-rich meal followed by a lighter, balanced second meal before sunset. This rhythm supports deep sleep, hormonal repair, and sustained fat burning overnight. Consistency, rather than intensity, is what keeps fasting effective long-term. A flexible approach that adapts to the body's signals, shortening or extending fasts as needed, prevents burnout and keeps metabolism resilient. Protein quality remains non-negotiable. Sustained results come from choosing clean, minimally processed sources: eggs, fish, grass-fed meats, legumes, and collagen-rich broths. These foods deliver the full spectrum of amino acids along with factors like zinc, magnesium, and B vitamins that support mitochondrial function and energy production. Processed protein shakes or factory farmed meats, on the other hand, can trigger inflammation and disrupt the microbiome, undermining the very benefits fasting provides. The focus should always be on nourishment, feeding the body information-rich proteins that signal repair and vitality at every level. Over time, this protein-centered fasting lifestyle becomes self-reinforcing. Energy remains stable throughout the day, cravings diminish, and body composition naturally shifts toward higher muscle and lower fat. There's no rebound weight gain because the body isn't deprived, it's supported. Hormones stay balanced, digestion improves, and inflammation gradually fades as the gut and liver regain their natural efficiency. This approach moves fasting beyond the short-term mindset of calorie restriction and transforms it into a sustainable metabolic therapy, one that strengthens the body's ability to heal, adapt, and thrive. The essence of Dr. Myhill's philosophy is that fasting should never be about starvation. It should be about restoration. The body flourishes when given the right signals, and protein is the most important of those signals. It tells the body to preserve lean tissue, stabilize blood sugar, and continue burning fat long after the fast has ended. Intermittent fasting works best when it nourishes, not deprives the system. Protein is the cornerstone that makes fasting sustainable, effective, and deeply healing. A daily rhythm of renewal that supports not just weight loss, but lifelong metabolic health.